Okay, thank you and welcome to all of you for joining us on this professional development webinar series 3, dubbed Preparing for Promotion. And as I did indicate, the facilitators for this 2 months webinar is drawn from a wide range of people in active service in universities who have also been in GES, and then we also have GES staff who will be joining us to share their views with us. And so we're going to get more and more of facilitators who have dedicated themselves to help us, in that regard. The topics that we'll be covering include, but not limited to, theories and philosophies of teaching, preparing for GES interview, how do you position yourself, and interviews in general, how do you position yourself? Because it is a very crucial moment in seeking job and even, being given an advantage to serve as a worker. What you say matters so much, or the kind of answers you give are so crucial and considered for you being, taken on. We also look at educational reforms in Ghana. We need to get a knowledge base of the educational reforms so that we will be informed in terms of what is wrong, what is going right, and whatever. We also look at the Ghana education system, then the organogram and functions of the Ghana Education Service, teaching methods and techniques. We also look at assessment techniques, the code of conduct for teachers, the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework, a National Teacher Standard for Teachers, among others. For today's series, I'll be engaging you. And specifically, as I said, it is an opening for today, and I'll be engaging you. But let's look at the general objectives of this association. The association is called Art Teachers Association of Ghana. But this webinar is open to all, so everybody can join this webinar. But our main aim of doing this is that as a professional subject-based association, one of our major aims or major objectives is to create awareness of teacher education policies among teachers. As teachers, we need to be abreast with the teacher education policies so that to inform our teaching and learning in the classroom. Besides, we also examine the essence of teacher education policies. Where the policy exists, that is one. But we should also look at the policy and look at its essence in terms of its contribution to education. Then we also look at one of our major aims is to contribute to continuous professional development of teachers, and then promote professional teaching standards. Yes, so that is our major aim. And as I did indicate, today I'll be engaging you. In fact, it's going to be an interaction. I'll be inviting your comments, your suggestions, opinion. Yes, so we are going to share ideas on this. So we are going to look at the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework. It is Teacher Education Curriculum Framework, the national one, and it is in short called NTECF. NTECF. And I'll be facilitating this. So let's look at specific objective for this session, which marks the first day of this third series of the webinar. In this engagement, we will examine the rationale, the key component, otherwise the pillars of the NTECF, and how the NTECF promotes teacher education and professional teaching standards. That is what we're going to look at. Now, to start with, let's look at curriculum. Let's look at curriculum. Curriculum is an important thing in the training of teachers. We use curriculum, as we are being trained as teachers. It is a particular curriculum that we are taking through so that we'll be able to see, okay, this is it. The curriculum tells that we are supposed to do this, do that, and whatever. So we are looking at curriculum. What is it? Basically, curriculum is a program. It is a planned program of activities that are geared towards training teachers to be effective. And this planned program involves a lot of activities. So out of the program, you get a lot of activities that are supposed to be taken by the teacher in terms of his training, so that the end results will be achieved. The desired results of training somebody as a teacher will be achieved. And so let's look at that definition from Haas, 1987, who defined curriculum as all the experiences. To him, curriculum includes all of the experiences that individual learners have in a program of education, whose purpose is to achieve broad goals and related specific objectives, which is planned in terms of a framework of theory and research or past and present professional practice. In a nutshell, we say curriculum is planned to help train people. So it becomes a roadmap that helps us to train, so that we know specific things that individuals are supposed to achieve at the end of the program, right? So we know, we have a basic idea of what curriculum is. Now let's look at a framework. When we say a framework, what is it? A framework is basically an essential supporting educational structure that is designed to serve as a foundation upon which everything is built. For instance, if you are building a car, you need to get that skeleton, that major thing that is going to hold everything. Now let's look at our human, the human body. The framework in the human body is the skeleton, and it is this skeleton that holds the body, the flesh to it. That is it. So in other words, it has been the roadmap. The framework is a kind of roadmap that helps or guides the framing up of curriculum. But until this NTECF, until this national curriculum framework was brought, we didn't have any. So it means all the educational policies, the curriculum that come have not followed specific framework. And this is first of its kind that a huge committee of experts from NTC, NCTE, NAB, National Accreditation Board, GES, Ministry of Education, and USAID Learning Project, and what have you, came together to formulate this. So we're talking about the NTECF. What is it? So the NTECF, which is a framework, was developed so that we will have, the basis is going to serve as, the pillar. So anytime a curriculum is going to develop, we have to look at that one. And that one is also based on the national aspiration. So the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework is a curriculum framework against which all future teacher education curriculum will be assessed. So if any curriculum is developed, they look at it and then assess it against that, because that has been the benchmark. It's going to be a benchmark based on which all curriculum are going to be assessed. That does not mean that the curriculum, the national curriculum framework cannot be reviewed. It will be reviewed from time to time, but it's going to be the bigger thing, which each curriculum that is developed is going to be used to assess. That's it. If we look at this curriculum framework that was developed, the question we may ask is, what prompted it? Now, a lot of issues have come, and this issue have informed this curriculum framework. Historically, in the 1960s, Ghana's education system was acclaimed as one of the best in sub-Saharan Africa. It was started as one of the best. But as we grow, as we move forward, things change, circumstances, change, and as a result, we need to, change the circumstance and then make sure that the education that we are given is relevant to our current needs. And so these changes, will call for those, curriculum. And over time, the education system declined because of these changes that we have not, taken, advantage of or looked at and reform our curriculum. So though there have been many reforms, these reforms have been put in place, all the reforms that were done, they were put in place to address issues that came, but they were all done without any curriculum framework. So teacher education and in-service education and training for basic and secondary schools were undertaken by initial teacher education institutions. So before they develop this framework, they look at the situation in the country. That if we say initial teacher education, we're talking about the colleges of education, previously called training colleges. They were doing the, training teachers or training people in terms of the educational system. And then we had UEW, and then UW and UCC, who were also doing some Bachelor of Education, whatever. And so they saw that in terms of training teachers, it has become one-sided. It's either Cape Coast, UW, who are doing that, and then the colleges of education, they were awarding diploma qualifications. While the universities I mentioned, UCC and UW, were in Bachelor of Education degrees and postgraduate diploma education certificates to people, meaning that they have trained. So until recently, UCC and UW offered university level training, but not UDS and University of Ghana, right? And so this called for questions to be answered, because as a nation, we are growing and there's a need to expand the education for accessibility to commensurate with our growing number of people, and then also training competent teachers. So the present form or the present reform ensured that the education system is open up in terms of teacher training, so that in terms of avenues, the colleges of education will not award diploma, but they will be awarding degrees, by expanding that, so that we'll be able to get more qualified teachers. Also, there's a growing need to improve the professional development of teachers at basic school and second cycle school. As teachers, as we are trained in our various schools and we get to the field of work, that is not enough. As I did indicate, we need to go through refresher programs by either ourselves or other institutions will be organizing that, so that we can build ourselves professionally. That is what we call continuous professional development. Every teacher needs it. So, all this, were on the minds of, those team of experts who framed this curriculum framework for us. They also did not lose sight of the challenges of the school system that informed teacher education. So they observed that there's increasing burden of the educational system on the Ghanaian children due to curricula that are dissociated from the personal and social context of children. And they also observe inadequate preparation of teachers. And as a result, the teachers are not able to connect with children and respond to their individual needs in the class. They found poor development of numeracy and literacy skills among pupils in basic education. And this was as a result of the examination or testing that were done. This is empirical. They came out with this finding that this is what is happening. In terms of numeracy, there was a lack. There was also poor performance in core subjects, especially English, integrated science, and mathematics at both basic and secondary levels. There was poor professional conduct of teachers, as seen through teacher absenteeism and loss of time on the task. Yes, there was a high level of absenteeism. This particular research, they found high level of absenteeism among teachers, which they need to actually work on. They also observed that the national pre-tertiary level education curricula that are currently in use were developed more than 5 years ago and do not meet the proficiency, literacy, numeracy, and life skills, and creative skills expected of adults in a rapidly changing society. That is a very empirical observation they made. They also observed a persistent presence of untrained teachers in the classroom, and they found that their presence impacts negatively on learning outcomes. As we call them, a lot of people teachers in the system. And so if they are not properly trained, how they are going to, their pedagogical content knowledge is limited. And it's also impacted on learning outcomes. This team of experts observed that there's an overemphasis on covering too many subjects in the basic school curriculum. And this does not allow for an in-depth understanding of the content of each age level. Too many subjects that were taken in the basic school. Then teachers have very little support and resources to develop their skills required to integrate ICT, that's information communication technology, into teaching and learning. Yes, the subjects were introduced, ICT, but the resources that teachers needed to help them develop and teach ICT, that is incorporated in almost all subjects, it was lacking. Besides, they found that there is insufficient support for teachers to integrate critical thinking, creativity, innovation, entrepreneurship, communication, collaboration, and problem-solving skills in the school curriculum. In fact, these are very essential values that they found that it was missing. Apart from these challenges that they found, they also had concerns with initial teacher education curriculum. And then they observed that in the past in the past 2 decades, there have been numerous minor reforms in teacher education system in Ghana, which have had very little impact on children's learning outcome. Now, the teacher education curriculum has not adequately responded to the lack of improvement in learning outcomes at the basic school level. This strengthens the need for reforms in the teacher education sector in Ghana. In addition, they found that there's low level of teacher participation in decision making. Example, the teacher-made preparation tests and inadequate professionalism in curriculum development. Because teachers are not just, implementers of curriculum. It goes beyond that. They form part of building the curriculum because you inform them, they implement it, and they're able to see some of the challenges or the loopholes in the curriculum. And so their involvement is also key. But they found that there was little participation or low level of participation of teachers in decision making in that regard. Also on the desk was the current curriculum in teacher education is weighted heavily towards subject content knowledge to the detriment of the curriculum space for developing understanding of pedagogy and practical classroom teaching skills, a situation that the team referred to as academic drift because it is focused on the subject content knowledge only. The team found a huge disconnect between the initial teacher education curriculum and primary GHS and SHS curriculum. For that reason, they came out with this. Besides, courses in mathematics, English, and science focus far more significantly on content that is not required to be taught at the primary GHS and SHS level. So before coming out with this, the team did a lot of work. And they were also aware of, or because of the existence of the national teaching standard that have been developed and the pre-teacher development and management policy, there was a need to, do a framework that will reflect all this. So these challenges and issues inform them to come out with that framework. But let's look at Ghana teacher education. In terms of Ghana, the whole nation, what is our educational philosophy or teacher education philosophy? What does the nation believe about teacher education? What should teacher education do for, the trainees or teachers that will be trained? What does the nation expect from them? What kind of nation do we want to build? So based on that, the Ghana teacher education has a philosophy, and the philosophy is aimed at producing teachers imbued with professional skills, attitudes, and values, and depth and breadth of content knowledge, as well as spirit of inquiry, innovation, and creativity that will enable them to adapt to changing conditions, use inclusive strategies, and encourage lifelong learning. And in this regard, the teachers are required to have a passion for teaching and leadership, and not just using teaching as a stopgap, right? And to reflect, the teachers should reflect on the practices and engage with members, not only in the school curriculum, but also in the wider community. And teachers should act as potential agents of change. So you see, in training of the young generation, teachers play a very key role. And for that reason, the nation, framed this philosophy for itself. So this is the philosophy of Ghana teacher education. Now, the rationale for the curriculum framework. So why the curriculum framework? What is the rationale behind it? What is making it so necessary? Now, the curriculum framework concentrates on essential elements, such as, the initial teacher education, that's ITE. So it looks at the initial teacher education curriculum that is needed to focus, right? Or in order to prepare competent teachers, and against which all teacher education curricula, including the 4-year Bachelor of Education BA, can be reviewed. And any further curriculum must be presented in terms of the 4 pillars, which as I spoke about early on. So the 4 pillars and cross-cutting issues, and should be explicitly reflect how they relate to each other to prepare effective, engaging, inspirational teachers. So with this, the curriculum, or the rationale is that this framework is for initial training of all teachers at the pre-tertiary levels, and all materials in the revised curriculum need to be justified in terms of how it will support the students in becoming effective teachers. So you don't just bring the material, you need to justify it. And justifying it, you do that along with the framework that has been done and tested how flexible it is before it is included. Now, feedback from stakeholders on the writing of the teacher curriculum was so key. Huge expertise of teacher unions, Ghana Education Service, National Accreditation Boards, NCTE, civil society organizations, donor agencies, they all influenced, or they all took part in this. And with this, they had this rationale. Let's look at them. To equip, fully prepare student teachers, the rationale is to fully prepare student teachers to teach the school curriculum, in particular English, mathematics, and science, concentrating on relevant subjects and pedagogical knowledge. It also equips student teachers. It is also to equip student teachers to develop skills. To develop people's skills. That is Ghanaian and English. And to equip student teachers to develop people's languages. And this language, we are looking at the Ghanaian languages and English. And then literacy, language literacy, so that all can access the curriculum. For example, if I am a frafra, right? I should be able to, I'm a child, I should be able to learn the frafra and then understand it, then I can relate to it. Because research has shown that students who actually understand or learn through their languages do better. All developed nations, China and others, they have learned through their languages. So they made this essential that the children should understand their own languages and they should learn through them. And for this, it was made part of the rationale. Among others, the rationale was to give higher status to practical teaching experiences through supported and assessed teaching in schools. It's also looked at widening the focus of assessment to include in-school learning assessment as well as examination, with students being assessed against the teacher standards. So there is teacher standards that teachers, based on which teachers are measured. That if you are a teacher, what standard are you supposed to exhibit in the class? Among others, it also deepens student-teachers curriculum knowledge through introducing level specialisms. And with this, we have the early grade. For example, KG to class 3 or primary 3. We need to train teachers that will be taking that classes. That's from KG to teachers who specialize in their training. So they're not going to be jack of all, but you focus on this, and that will give them a very good grip. Then we have P4 to P6. We train teachers who are going to man that area or if you like classes. Then JHS, we train people for that. Then SHS, we train people for that. And so it means teachers are going to specialize in their area. It's also emphasized a more interactive, learner-focused approach to training, modeling, and good teaching. And to be explicit in addressing vital cross-cultural issues, equity and inclusivity, assessment, core skills, professional values, action, research, and reflection. It's also targeted these essential issues so that it shaped the curriculum framework, which underpins the national teacher standards as a determiner of what the competent teacher is. And the goal is to ensure that every child's right to competent teachers who are able to support learning and progress is fulfilled. So they actually cared about a young generation, the student that teachers are going to train. And so teachers, there was a framework of, FQ, and it made it necessary that, and if you look at the Millennium Development Goals, all talk about access to quality education. And the quality education become very, very important in this frame. It means the teacher also needs to deliver quality. And training the teacher in that regard is very, very essential. Now let's look at the key to success in the teacher education framework. But before I go to the key to success in that teacher education framework, I'll pause here for questions, if any, before I go on. So participants, I'm inviting questions, if any, based on what we have discussed so far or what we have looked at so far. If you have any questions, suggestions, or additions, please, you are welcome. You can unmute your microphone and ask any question or give your comments. If you have questions, you ask it and then we move on.
Okay.
Ms. Anna, you want to say something?
Yes. One of the challenges that you raised was the challenges to the education system was the persistent presence of untrained teachers.
Okay.
That negatively affected the educational outcome. I want to find out. We have private schools with teachers, some of which are SS leavers. They teach private schools, yet students there are able to perform very well against trained teachers who handle our public school system. And in what way are we saying that the untrained teachers, if you like, the people teachers, were a cause, if you like, a cause to the low academic outcomes? When we have SS leavers teaching, even now, teaching our public schools, and yet they do well. That's my question.
Okay, thank you. Any response to that? Any other question? Okay, let me take that. Yes, the challenges that are outlined are what is enshrined in the curriculum framework, and in that curriculum framework, they identify this as a major challenge. Now, when it comes to issue of delivering in the classroom, you are comparing untrained teachers and then trained teachers. One issue that is very central to this is that they also mention teacher absenteeism. Teachers who have been trained and have all the skills, they know whatever the loopholes, how to deliver whatever. They will go to school, and sometimes, you know, they when their head teachers control them, they do their own thing. When head teachers talk, they say they are reporting them or something. Teachers may go to school in some circumstances, may go to school, sit under trees, and give notebook to the class people. Go and copy. Go and copy. If you finish, I'll come and explain. Teaching is not note copying. That is not teaching. You are supposed to engage with the students so that student will be bringing their views. You consolidate the knowledge with them. You don't go and create the thing and go and give it to them that they should copy. Then you come and explain. When it is time for class, professional teachers who are being paid, they will sit under tree. Sometimes they will even be selling in the school, right? To the extent that their focus is on the selling. So they have the competences. So one thing that has driven the progress of private schools in Ghana is supervision. It's key supervision. When supervision is well done, see, they'll deliver. They deliver because they know the whatever. I can use this example. Some of us attended Saito, right? But you realize that when the teachers are able to, get time for the students, interact with them, the students are able to come out well, and wherever they go, they perform. I don't know if you also attended Saito. Did you?
Yes, I did. All through my schooling.
You see, because teachers, when the teachers engage, even at Saito, you could tell which teacher will come to class, who teacher will come and sit down and be chatting with their friends when it's even contact hours. So that has been the challenge. But isn't that they know so much, or I mean, those in private schools are better? No, it's about attitude to work. Okay, please, any other questions so that we go on?
Thank you.
Welcome. Theo, you have a question to ask? Hello, Theophilus, do you have a question?
Doc, I think it will, my major issue, either question or any add-ups I would like to add or make will come when we get to the art itself, the art curriculum itself.
Okay.
And how, yeah. So I'm just following through for now.
Okay, thank you. Emmanuel Osu, please, your hand is up. You are invited to ask your question. Emmanuel Osu. Hello, Emmanuel Osu. Okay. Sims is not hearing me, so I'll go on. So as I, mentioned early on, we have looked at what curriculum is, framework is of what is it, and then we now look at the rationale. What is the rationale behind the framing of the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework, right? A team of experts that came to look at this framework. And in course of their work, what major things did they find that serve as basis for developing that essential framework for Ghana? Nyamawero, your hand is up. Please, your question. Nyamawero. Nave. Please, your question.
The question is, Doc, I want to find out when this document was developed.
When the document was developed?
Yes.
That is a very beautiful question. Very interesting question. I am going to make the document available to every participant here for free download. For now, you can even download it at the university site. But the document was developed, and when it was developed, they did all this curriculum, this new curriculum we are having. So it became the basis for this development of this new curriculum. Do you get it? Hello? Hello? Nava, can you hear me? Isaac Kwanzaa, your hand is up, please. Isaac Kwanzaa, please, your hand is up. You can unmute yourself and talk. Yeah, Isaac Kwanzaa, we are listening. We can hear you. It's unfortunate he's not hearing us. So we go on. But please, if you have any question, note it. I will respond to all these questions when, you know, and I come down. We even break into sessions and try to discuss a few things. So let's move on. So having looked at the rationale, what curriculum framework is about, I mean, and then what informed them, I mean, the challenges they observed before coming up with this framework. Now let's look at, in developing the framework, what has been the key to success in teacher education, or what is the key to success in teacher education in the development of this curriculum framework? So we're going to look at that. Now, in this framework, the experts observed or identified 4 pillars of teacher education, 4 key pillars of teacher education. And these pillars are subjects and curriculum knowledge, literacy studies, that's Ghanaian languages and English, pedagogic knowledge, supported teaching in schools. So these are the 4 key pillars. And in terms of subjects and curriculum knowledge, it is expected that the teacher who is trained secures content knowledge for specialism, and subjects is the key to teaching the school curriculum, right? That is the first pillar. Now, the second one is literacy studies. We are training students to be relevant in all fields of life, in whatever they go. In fact, to be, you know, a global citizen. And to train students to be a global citizen, understanding only your language is not enough. So you need to get at least more than one international language or something that you can be able to relate to or communicate, you know, whatever. So language is key to the success in education and life. And getting this right is the most crucial issue for our children. I mean, our children's future and for education in Ghana. And so they are supposed to understand their own languages that, you know, in their communities, relate to it. So that through that, it is easy to look at other languages. That is why in the lower KG and the lower primary, it is advised that, you know, the policies, I mean, the experts are saying we use the local language, that's the L1 in delivery, so that they get the basic understanding, learn the thing in their context. Now, the third pillar is the pedagogic knowledge. Pedagogy is key because it inhibits the, you know, it includes the instructional strategies. I mean, the teaching skills, I mean, methods, whatever, how you're going to deliver, classroom management and whatever, they are all in there. So the knowledge of instructions and assessment strategies is key to supporting the learning and progress of all pupils. And so these are the major areas. Now, the last one is supported teaching in schools. That is extended, guided, and assessed teaching, which enables students, teachers to apply their knowledge, and the key to improving teaching, you know. So that is the 4th pillar. So 4 major pillars that are key to success. They are essential knowledge, skills, and understanding necessary for effective teaching. That's the expert came. Now, in addition to this, they had what we called cross-cutting issues. When we say cross-cutting issues, they are looking at issues that cut across the 4 pillars that they have developed. 4 pillars. And they identify equity and inclusivity, professional values and attitudes, assessment strategies, core skills, and information communication technologies. Now, all these cut across the the 4 pillars that were identified. So if you look at the first one, equity and inclusivity, they talk about cultural and social linguistic diversity in Ghana. That is manifest in all classrooms. And understanding this is key to addressing barriers to learning and teaching for diversity, right? So language, as is barrier to learning, and we need to be aware of, move into this social linguistic diversity in Ghana and in the various communities. When children learn in their own languages, they understand better, and so they look at equity, inclusivity. How do we treat children, in equal terms? How do we include them in their lesson, even if they don't get it? What strategies are we going to use for them to get the thing that we are talking about? How do we coach them in their own language so that they understand the thing in their own context? The next thing is the professional values. You see, the key to professionalism, the development of professional identity, social norms, ethics, and practices of the school and teaching profession, including reflective practice and a commitment to lifelong learning. Now, a teacher is a reflective being. It reflects on what he teaches, it reflects on the life he leads, it reflects on what he does with the students in order to make it better. And that helps you to get that lifelong learning, right? Because as human, as we grow, we gather a great deal of experiences in our teaching, in our daily lives. That's it. So you need values. And these professional values and attitudes are enshrined and have been made clear in the National Teaching Standards, which in course of the delivery, one of the participants, one of the facilitators will hammer on that they will look at only the National Teaching Standard. It's going to take us through that teaching standards. Some also, another participant, on the 19th, we have a presenter who is also going to take us through assessment techniques and strategies. So we should all endeavor to attend. But let's continue with that. So assessment literacy, it is very, very important. Understanding the principles and practices of assessment and testing is key to effective planning for differentiation and making provision for all pupils in the ages, subject, and context being taught. That's it. Then the core skills. The competences and attributes key to being an effective teacher, including critical thinking. In fact, if you look at the new curriculum that have been developed, the SSS one has not yet been implemented, but the basic school one has, has been implemented. It's still, I think, 1 year on. But if you look at it, these competences have been enshrined in it: critical thinking, problem-solving skills, creative thinking, communication skills, information and communication technology, social skills. If you look at the information communication technology, they have labeled digital literacy. That is very key. So these are the competences rather than just learning the subject content. You are going to measure the output of the child based on this. So this is what we're going to use to measure, the output of the child. Critical thinking, the child's ability to, problem solving, creative thinking, communication skills, digital literacy, social skills, and commitment to lifelong learning. These are the core skills that has formed, area for assessment or measuring the output of children in the new curriculum. Now, ICT, that's what we have hammered on, is also key to effective communication and teaching in the 21st century. So these are cross-cutting issues that was looked at in coming up with the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework. Now, apart from that, there were other issues that were looked at. So the other issues includes the specialism pathways. And the specialism pathways, we spoke about, I mean, the depth and breadth of the knowledge of what to be taught. And that is connected to the developmental level of the children and consolidating content knowledge. So you look at the level of the children, you train the teacher in that regard, then the teacher gets better training in terms of delivering quality, such that he includes children and then you treat them equally. Then assessing student teachers, assessment of students against the national teaching standards through professional portfolios, including evidence from in-school assignments and examination. That's it. So if you look at the national teaching standard, this is what every teacher should have, because that is what spells out, I mean, what makes somebody a competent teacher. To be a competent teacher, you look at the value, the professional values and ethics that have been enshrined in the national teaching standard. So that is the benchmark based on which you are going to be measured as a teacher. So if you call yourself competent teacher, you look at it, okay, these are the values in the national teaching standard. Am I following it? Do I do all this? And indeed, if you follow this, it's going to help all of us. We're also going to help in training the future generation to take over. Now, another key issues that include the other issues that were developed is CPD for mentors, colleges of education, and leaders. The CPD represents continuous professional development. I have said early on that iron sharpens iron. Even at the university level, every semester, we attend professional development training. We have to go to conferences, engage with other academics, share knowledge, contribute, and in sharing you gain, just like what we are doing. We listen, somebody will bring his view, what about we move on, and then we consolidate knowledge, we learn and move forward. It is not just enough to say, I am a trained teacher, so that is it. You have to engage with others, right? Attend professional training, do research. That will help you, promote your teaching in the classroom and also help the student better. So continuous professional development, which we're even taking part now, is very key. But this is just one aspect. There are so many ways. Then another issue or other issue that they consider is the quality assurance strategy. My friend asked me a question about the fact that some private school teachers who are even people teachers perform better. And in my attempt to answer, I hinted of the fact that quality assurance or like supervision is very key. So if you look at quality assurance, we have to look at what kind of quality are they delivering. So we have to look at quality in terms of the internal quality assurance. So in terms of internal quality assurance, the head teachers monitor the students. Nobody call out for anybody. They're supposed to do whatever they're supposed to do. They evaluate, they review, and as even teachers, we are supposed to even do peer teaching. Review ourselves. Somebody, your friend may be teaching. You sit in there. You may give comments. And in fact, comment that will help him build. And then, so we do peer assessment, and we even allow the student to assess us. After teaching, student will not even write their name. You give them form to fill based on whatever. And what you're supposed to do is not to use this against them, but to make your teaching better. That's it. So these are the other issues that were key in that. So we are going to look briefly at the general structure of the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework. The diagram. So let's look at the figure. This is how the framework looked at. Now, if you look at the red part at the top, the red part is derived from the philosophy, National Teacher Education Philosophy. And the philosophy, if you read it carefully, it talks about inclusiveness, equitable, high quality education, lifelong learning opportunities, increased number of effective, engaging, inspirational teachers for all school curriculum, and teacher standards. These are the key things in the national philosophy of education. So based on these philosophies, the major, they developed this equity and inclusivity. That is one of the pillars in the curriculum. The framework that they developed, professional values, assessment strategies, core competences, core and transferable skills, ICT, CPD, mentor, teacher, blah, blah, blah. So all this, based on that, we got this. We have the major areas, the 4 pillars, that is subject and curriculum knowledge, literacy studies, pedagogic knowledge. And then we have the other one that is down there, which I will show you. Now let's look at the subject content knowledge. And the subject content knowledge, the subject knowledge for teaching the content is very, very key. So we train the teacher to get the subject knowledge that will help him to deliver subject knowledge for teaching the content. Then progress in learning in subjects. There should be progress. You should be able to measure the progress in learning in the subject. Then common misperception in subjects. We have to look at it. And then school curriculum, including learning outcomes. So the curriculums will look at the learning outcomes so that it can be measured, like the critical thinking skills, the digital literacy, communication skills, innovative skills, all this. Then education system and the key subject policies guiding it. Child development and learning in subjects in diverse context cultures. Then subject-specific assessment of pupils' learning. And the digital under literacy studies, it looks at the knowledge proficiency and communication and what have you. So the use of L1 to teach other subjects from KG to P3. L2 as a language of instruction from P4 to GHS3. L1 is the local language. Then the L2 is the English that we'll be using to teach as instruction from P4 to GHS3. Now, assist transition from L1 as a medium of instruction to the use of L2 from P4 onwards. Then identify and support children with literacy programs. Then early grade literacy. When we say early grade, we're talking about the KG to class 3. That's the early grades, which teachers are going to develop specialism in that. Then we have the pedagogic knowledge, which talks about the instructional strategies, introduction to cross-cutting issues, assessment to support differentiation and learning, barriers to learning. You have to identify the barriers to learning and then mitigate all of them. For example, if language is a barrier, you have to devise ways of looking at it. Then effective mechanism for planning. Then behavior management and strategies. Preparation for supported teaching in schools and implication of learner backgrounds. So this is let's go down there. So that is what we have outlined under the subject and curriculum knowledge, the literacy knowledge, pedagogic knowledge. Then the 4th one is supported teaching in schools. That's application of their learning in a range of supported and extended school experiences by observing, planning, teaching, and assessing their impact on people's learning progress and well-being, and assess through portfolios. Sometimes you give students projects, they create their portfolios, you'll be guiding them, whatever. So they develop with these competencies alongside, right? They'll be creating portfolio in the arts, they will do their works, keep records of them, and then move on. Okay, so this is how the students have developed. Starting from basic school, let's say KG or KG2, this is the kind of work that he used to do. This is how he had developed over time. So to help you to know how the child is developing. And that is commensurate with the developmental level of the child. Now, these 4 pillars that are, embedded in the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework is supposed to lead to effective, engaging, inspirational new teachers. That is what we need in the country. And enhance learning outcomes and opportunities for pupils. Because when you train teachers, as teachers, we are so crucial in the training of the children because we contribute to what they become in future. So if we complain of the children are doing this, they are not doing that, we are part of it. Yeah, No, the thing cannot lie solely on only us, but we are also part of it. We are still key stakeholders in that. So this is the entire framework. This is how it looks like, right? That's the diagram. I'll pause here and invite questions. In fact, we have brought it to an end, and we are going to the second session. The second session, that the question and answers. Then we break and we look at what we have heard so far. Questions we have, comments. Everybody's opinion is welcome. So at this juncture, I unmute all of you, and then your questions, comments, opinions, suggestions are all welcome. So kindly raise your hand and I'll call you, sir. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, Doc.
Did you get it? Where did you miss it? I was offline. Hello?
Hello, Doc.
Yes, please, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, doctor, we can hear you.
Yeah, the thing went
I
off.
think you go to the questions and answers section.
And the thing went off, right?
Yes.
Okay. So please, you are now invited. Raise your hand, unmute yourself, ask your questions. Let's go on. We have, let me sum it up. We have looked at the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework. First of all, we looked at what curriculum is. We also touched on framework. When we say curriculum, what is it? Framework, what is it? So we put it together, we get National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework. And we said this curriculum framework is going to be the basis for assessing all other initial teacher, curriculum framework, curriculum that will be developed. Colleges of education develop their curriculum, is going to measure it against that. If university develop their curriculum, they have to look at that one to develop it, right? And so that is how it's going to, until that we didn't have it, until the team of experts brought this curriculum. And it's even influenced the creation of the new curriculum they have organized in the JHS, and the SSS. SSS is yet to be implemented, but that's of the basic school, coming to JHS, that line. So that's it. So please, we also look at the main pillars, the 4 main pillars of the curriculum. Of the curriculum framework that they did. And this is a framework that is going to guide the curriculum so that you don't get up, no government gets up, or somebody will just get up and say, I'm going to do this or that. It is based on the national aspiration, national philosophy of teacher education, how teacher education should be looked at, what we are expecting from the teachers. And so based on that, they develop standards. Until then, we didn't have standards. Everybody go that, what is the best practices? And interestingly, they frame these standards based on best practices. Best practices. So should you do a study and say, okay, in this study, I want to look at who is a competent teacher, or I want to assess who is the best teacher in Ghana or in a particular district. You have to measure that teacher using the national teaching standards. Not maybe political affiliation, or not maybe because you know him, you've been working with, or you're a mate or something. No, you look at the standards, how you've been able to use the standards, professional skills or whatever, in terms of community, in terms of engagement with learners, and a whole lot of issues. So as I said, I was offline, that's why I was trying to introduce, wrap up some of the things that we said. So please, your questions are welcome, please.
Okay, hello, Doc.
Yes. Your name, please. And
John, Anan.
Okay.
Yeah, I went off on my laptop, so I'm using the phone now.
Okay.
My question is, these are very beautiful pillars. These are very beautiful things you have spoken about. The framework is very good. But how are we to ensure that no political influence, there will be no political influence? Because as for the planning and the development, we are good. Ghana, we are good when it comes to the planning and the development of the policies and the frameworks. But to ensure that it's followed and implemented without any interference from any political party, and that's so. My question is: does it have any constitutional backing or backing that would debar any political influence?
Yeah, thank you. I think I wish the team of experts will be here to respond to this. But that is an interesting question that you are putting forward. First of all, let's look at, in fact, this framework that they developed is, I would say, it is a point in right direction. And it is targeting what we want the teachers to do, or what we expect from the kind of teachers who train, who are going to man the classrooms, right? And in framing this, key stakeholders came together. Talking of the universities, UCC was part, UDS was part, University of Ghana, they were part, right? And other tertiary institutions were part. Colleges of education were involved. So it was not somebody who sat in somewhere and then developed it. And remember, universities develop curriculum based on what is happening on the field. They do a lot of tracer studies, and based on that, they develop new curriculum to meet the aspiration of that. So I would say politically, it will be hard to say you are going to change whatever. They have to look at what is the aspiration of the country. And they look at what is happening in the country in terms of the job market. Now the investors are moving towards entrepreneurship, right? Training digital people who can, entrepreneurs whatever they have learned, who are creating, innovative things. So it will be difficult to say this university should stop producing teachers or this because I am party A, party B. But I am sure the political party actors are also part of it, because people from Ministry of Education, I mean, that is the top hierarchy in terms of education, that from late policy for us, they were involved, right? We have donor partners outside, USA Learning Project, TTEL. TTEL stands for Transforming Teacher Education and Learning. They were part of it. So this is, I think we should pat them on the back. And like you are saying, political influence, for example, I'm a college of education and I'm developing program to look at this challenge. You don't develop programs in isolation. When we say program, for example, in art education here, we have B.Ed art education, that's Bachelor of Arts in Art Education. Then we may have Bachelor of Arts in Graphic Design. So if I am training students in BA Graphic Design, what do I want from them? What do we expect from them? Is I'm training the teachers, what do we want them to go and teach the teachers? So with this, it will be very hard to have a political influence, because our important goal is to train the students so that they can get job and create job for themselves. So, and do you get it? The political actors are part, but you and I are all here. You know what you're talking about. Now, you want to say something? The way you are smiling. Yeah, so please, I'm responding to your questions. Feel free, ask, and let's move on. This teacher education framework is not outside the art. The framework is there. So you, having gone through education, you can sit down and say, okay, I am even if you even want to create a course, you have to look at this framework and see how you are going to do that. And getting knowledge of that, in fact, for our promotion, GES, whether principal, superintendent, director 1, director 2, deputy director, whatever, you need the knowledge of this. You need to be aware of these frameworks, right? Because it is this framework that inform the curriculum that have been developed. And so you need you need knowledge of all this as a teacher. Not only, it's not for universities, it's for all of us, that we now know the framework, whatever, and so we'll be better positioned to contribute to curriculums in terms of sharing because in the curriculum that they developed, they did broad consultation from stakeholders across Ghana. Some of you were consulted. No, they came to you, they did workshops, you spoke out your mind, they took the views, and then they factored them in. And so knowledge of this is very, very important. Yeah, please, I'm listening to the questions. Just unmute and ask your questions. Hello?
Hello, dog.
Yes, please, I'm listening.
This is Gertrude.
Gertrude Agbe.
Yeah. Agbenaza.
Okay, Agbenaza. Please, you can go on. I'm listening.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And it's very deep, especially with the new curriculum and the framework, everything is well understood. But my problem is the grassroots, the implementation at the grassroots level, how the whole thing will be structured so that the supervision, as we are talking about, will come down to the grassroots level, basic public school, not in the cities, but in the villages and towns where teachers can actually seriously take the initiative and then impart. That is my only challenge. As you said, the supervision. I'm a head teacher. You try to put the teacher right, and behind you, an officer may say a different thing to the teacher, and then it goes around and come back to you as if you are not doing your work. These are some of the challenges we face, especially those of us at the grassroots, the basic level. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I understand you. Sometimes it comes with a lot of challenges. In this webinar, what we are trying to do, you're talking about grassroots. What we are doing is to try to explain this, because I did a very short survey, and in that survey, I found that this framework has been developed, but teachers are not aware of them. The framework is there, but they don't look at it, and so when it comes to even enforcing what is right, it becomes difficult. So as we said, as teachers, I am a teacher as you are. As teachers, we have a role to play. And I mean, all the other stakeholders, Ministry of Education, District Director of Education, whatever, they all have their role to play. The most important thing is that we play our role. And as teacher-based associations, what we can do is conduct research. Conduct research regarding this in terms of the implementation of this framework, or in terms of how the framework is working in the grassroots. You can do a study. In fact, I was filling GES promotion for somebody. I was just assisting. I was looking at how the thing was being filled. And I saw that you are supposed to even upload publications. If any publication you have done, you need to upload it. And you see, as teachers, whatever is happening in the classroom is research.
Yeah.
It's a lot of data that we have in the classroom that even with the student, it can be on one student, it can be, collect teachers, whatever, a lot of data. Let's collect this data, analyze it, publish it into the public domain. People read it and know what is happening. So, Madam Agwenas, as you said, a lot of challenges come with the implementation of this framework in terms of each role, supervision, whatever should happen in the class. But we should do our part and then see what will happen next. And I know all the other people also do their part.
Thank you. Thank you.
You think they will not do their part? They will do it.
They will do it too. Sometimes the resources.
What about resource? What about resource? Share with me.
Sometimes, like this publication thing, it is very perfect and nice. But the financial aspect of it.
The financial aspect of what? Of the publication.
Of the publication. I've organized something in class and I want to publish it, do it in a way whereby my children, the people will benefit, the community will benefit, the parents will benefit. So it involves money. And the school has no fund for that. Maybe I may be compelled to levy the children maybe 20 or 50%. This, I'm not allowed to. Out of the 20 or 30 people in my class, a parent may take me on. You get it? So when you are limited.
Okay. Now, you want to say something? I can see you are rubbing your hand on your head. What, do you want to say something?
Not exactly, but I just want to also add my voice to the first questioner who actually talked about interference as to how they haven't had a very good framework as to whether politicians will not be able to manipulate the system to get their way through. In Ghana here, we know what politicians do with institutions. And so maybe if there could be a legal backing that at least will bar politicians probably. They say every 5 years before a curriculum is reformed, maybe it has to be between every 5 years or 6 years after a thorough assessment of the existing curriculum is done. But this time around, we hear political, announcements. When we win, we are going to reform this, we are going to do this. And then at the end of the day, we hear that the reform is ongoing without any curriculum. And so that is where the problem is.
I mean, without any framework, right? Okay, that is great, and that's a it shall be well. But you are there, so they will work it out. That is a very important point. That's a very important point. The framework is very important. Once we have it, and if there's a legal backing that it is at every 5 years. You see, when it comes to curriculum, per the universities, we have National Accreditation Board that looks at their curriculum. And every 4 years, there's a policy. I think every 3 or 4 years, you review your curriculum. Hello? Yeah.
Yeah, he's back.
Okay.
Doc, your mic is off, so we can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we're still taking the questions. And Emmanuel Usu's hand is up.
Yeah.
Yes, so
So Emma, please, we are listening to you.
my question is, yes,
Rules, Mr.
my
Betts.
question
Name,
is,
look.
I think basically you highlighted two things. I think you highlighted one and then another
hold.
colleague
There's
highlighted
some
another.
Hello, Emma.
Okay.
Emma. Hello, Emma. Emma.
Yes, sir.
There's some noise at the background, so please you can go ahead now.
Okay. My question is on balancing the training. I think one of the major pillars is that the teachers on the field are to be trained to update our skills and our knowledge and everything. Now, for example, when we started this webinar, you asked of this document, and some of us did not know about it. And I wouldn't be surprised if many other teachers on the field do not know about it. My question is, is there any mandatory timeline or any plan to, on a large scale, train every teacher on the field? Is there any plan of that sort? Or is it going to be we, the teachers, having to attend training like we have chosen to attend this webinar? So what about those who do not attend the webinar? How are they going to update themselves? So what's the plan to train and to balance the training? The reason why I'm asking about the balancing is, I think another colleague made mention of the fact that sometimes one person may receive a training, the trainer leaves and then another instructor comes to instruct something different. So how is the training going to be done, and what's the plan to balance the training across the country? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the interesting question that you have put across. If you look at the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework, it is something that is good, that has come to shape the thing. So anytime we are going to review curriculum, we are going to look at it and it's going to measure, you know. And so you are talking about awareness about whatever. We are doing this webinar for two major things. First of all, we actually want to acquaint teachers with the policies in education, and the framework is a very key policy. So if you are aspiring to any position in GES or as a teacher on the field, not even necessarily position, you need to be acquainted, you need to have knowledge of the available policies, because that is going to guide your work, right? So as a teacher, in fact, you need to have it. This thing is going to be online. We are going to, after the webinar, we are going to give you a link. And on this link, the presentation itself, the PowerPoint is part of it. The recorded video, we are going to put it on our Zoom page, our ATAG TV page on YouTube, so you can play it over and over again and watch. You see, what we are doing right now, we are contributing to continuous professional development. It is just not enough to say that I am a teacher, I was trained from so and so school, and so that is it. As you live as you do the job, you should learn new skills, new things that are coming, and have knowledge of them. So it will influence your work. It will make you do, the required things in the work. So in terms of implementation, we as teachers, we are not the one implementing this framework, right? We are supposed to have knowledge of the framework so that we understand how the implementation is going. So at the point in time you were asked, or you find yourself in a leadership position, and you are supposed to do anything in terms of curriculum, you will be in better position to deliver. And if you know that these are the competencies that are required for any teacher or by any teacher, so that we use those competencies to measure the standard your standard as a professional teacher. On what basis do you say, okay, I'm a professional teacher? And that basis has been created in the framework, right? And it has been in that framework, and it has been expanded by the National Teaching Standard Guidelines, which one of our presenters will talk to in the subsequent. This is the document, the National Teachers Standard, right? This is the guideline. This is what every teacher should look at. If you want to call yourself a professional teacher, or you call yourself a professional teacher, you need something that makes you a professional teacher is here in that document, right? So, Honorable Emmanuel Owusu, your question is very, very right. But in terms of implementation, we are not the implementers. We play parts in it. I mean, we are not the implementers of the framework. We implement the curriculum, but we should know what informed. You know, we are doing this against the fact that we may be going for promotion and whatever, whether it's interview or whatever. When you were asked, we have a good grasp of these educational policies that are in the field of education that we are, whatever, right? And then let me come to the second aspect of your question. The second aspect has to do with what about teachers who didn't come for this webinar and you have chosen? As I said, as a teacher, you are supposed to attend professional development anytime. I stand to be corrected, but I understand GES have finalized things and they are going to pay teachers professional development allowance. The professional development allowance, when it comes, in fact, it will put a lot of pressure on teachers. If I say pressure, I'll call it a good pressure, because it will be mandatory for you to go for training, refresher courses, better yourself, improve yourself. Because it's not just enough to say, I've been taught this and you not learn anything. You get up, you not even prepare, you know it already, so you enter the class. There are new knowledge. There are new things happening on the field. Just like this framework thing, there are new things that are there. And you're supposed to acquaint yourself with it. When you are in none of this, you'll be able to help your whatever. So as teachers, we should now wait for, okay, I'm going for promotion before we attend continuous professional development. In my discussion, I said that in the universities and even colleges of education, continuous professional development is key, very key. Every semester, at least 2 or more. I mean, at least 2. You do professional, you attend conferences, you attend workshops on new technologies that have come, whatever. And that is it. Universities, or if you like, it is not the building that forms the school, it is the strong faculty. Faculty here is the human resource that train the others. And if we get a competent human resource that train the young ones, we will turn the nation, to a different way that we want it to be. Yuma, are you okay?
Hello, Doc.
Yes, Yuma.
In fact, I am very okay. But just as you are saying that the professional development allowance, at least just as you are hinting that it's going to bring some. Off. Put pressure. They should be also ready that we are also going to make some. Because yes, hello. So, for example, time we heard of a government organized training session for teachers. So,
hello, Yuma. The network is not favoring us. Would you like to position yourself well? Hello, Yuma. Hello, Yuma. Okay. Please, any other question?
If the professional allowance they are going to expect us to be developing us, should be ready that we are also.
But you should be ready. You see, the professional allowance is not there, but you are supposed it has not come yet. But you are supposed to even fill the form. I mean, the form you are filling, they'll ask you to submit certificates or records of professional development training you have attended. those who are aspiring for promotion. You're supposed to fill that. And so will you say that because I didn't get professional development training, I didn't do it, or I didn't go? It is very, very key. In fact, if you want to be a good teacher who is very current, you need it. But as we said, and I'm sure government is working to give you that professional development allowance, which ATAG, our Teachers Association, we have been clamoring for, because it is something that teachers need to develop. Yes, because sometimes where the teacher stays and even committing to one place to the other is another thing. And so I think it will come. We pray that it comes, and it will. Yeah, Samuel Yabwa, Honorable Samuel Yabwa, please, we are listening to you.
Hello?
Yeah, Samuel, we are listening, please.
Hello?
Yeah, Sammy, I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, sir, please, I came very late to join. And because of my
Sammy, will you like
network here.
Would you like
But
to position yourself
if
well,
you could
please?
help.
Sammy, position yourself well so that we can hear you well.
Yeah, my network here is very poor. Yeah, please, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Hello?
Yeah, Sammy, we can
actually,
hear
I came to join you a little bit because of my network problem here. But if you can summarize something for me here, I came and met you when you are talking about pillars on subject and curriculum, knowledge, blah 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 blah. So I will be happy if you can summarize what you said on it small for me.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to ask any of the participants to share with us. So please, participants, I'm inviting you in a minute or two, summarize something for him. Meanwhile, we will upload this. We're doing is recorded, so we are going to upload it on our YouTube channel, and then send it to you so that you can go over and over again. And let me add that Thursday, in fact, this thing that we have begun, we are doing it Thursdays and Tuesdays. The day that we will not be able to come, or whatever, we'll let you know. But we have created a link. We have put questions there. We have put questions and the document that we have done there. So we'll send you the link. You are free to go there to download, so that whatever we have done, you read and then you see, oh, you do self-assessment. Okay, so this question, how do I answer it? Or to check whatever you have learned, right? So the questions are there. We are going to send you the link shortly after this, so that you go there. Hello? Yeah, so
okay.
We give you the questions, you look at it and do self-assessment about your understanding of the framework. And I'm excited that you came, because at least you have gotten something about the framework, which is going to shape your activities in the class. Now let's come back to Sammy's question. I want somebody in a minute summarize what he got from this webinar. Any volunteer to at least share what he has learned from this webinar. Okay, Theophilus Owusu has raised the hand. Theo, we are listening to you.
Thank you very much, Doc, for this opportunity. I think I have learned that there is a framework for teacher education, and that every curriculum that we are going to develop henceforth, or even the basic curriculum that we have now in Ghana, has its roots from this framework. So what we are saying is that if we get hold of this document as teachers who are in the classroom, manning the classroom and teaching the kids, we use this document or framework as guidelines to assess ourselves, whether we are doing the right job, whether we are competent enough, and all of that. One major thing that I would like to establish here is that the framework isn't just a work that someone sat somewhere to come up with. There are major stakeholders like all the universities around in Ghana and even certain international organizations that came up with this framework. And so its validity is I think, assured. Yeah, so I think so far, this is what I have gotten from this webinar.
Good, very interesting. Nice one, good. Please, any other person to add to what he has said, so that it will help our brother understand and so that he watch the video later? Any volunteer, I would love that. Please, any volunteer, we are listening.
Yeah, Gertrude.
Yeah, Gertrude, we are listening, please.
Yeah, I want to also establish one thing that I also got here is mostly we end up blaming the pupils in the class for almost all the challenges and problem I'm performing and all that. But I also learned that we teachers are also part. So we should examine ourselves also as we deliver so that we don't always put the blame on the people. We are part of the development of the children. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Any last person? I want one female. What men can do, women can do better. One female to join us or share his view. Anybody else? Okay. I think, please, anybody else, whether male or female, to add up to what has been said. Innocent, would you like to add to it? Innocent Kuluji? Innocent Kuluji? Okay. Nave, will you add up for us?
Hello, Doc.
Yes, add up for us.
Well, what I want to say is that sometimes too, the teachers, we also are part of whether I should call it a failure of whatever system we have, because we pretend as if we are at the last end of the ladder, and so we stay aloof. We don't care about what happens. Ours is to just go to the classroom and teach. But if we at the bottom there, if we are taking things seriously, I know elsewhere where before a teacher goes for promotion, you are supposed to list the number of trainings and workshops and conferences you have attended over the period. You are supposed to list articles and publications you have done over the period before you are promoted. But in our case, we sit down, even a teacher buying newspapers to read, to know what is happening is an issue. This workshop is very vital and very crucial. But how many of us are here? And we turn out to blame government, we blame politicians, we blame other people, and then we think that that's it. So I'm also encouraging us teachers, we can do more. If we do more, we won't need anybody to tell us that we are professionals. But because we are relaxed, that is why we fight over whether we are professionals or not. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the great submission. That's great. I'm happy to have you here. And we look forward to continuing tomorrow. I mean, on Thursday, that is 17th. And 17th, we have Dr. Peter Eshen. Peter Eshen is a senior lecturer.
Today is 17th.
Yeah, sorry. 19th, sorry. You know, I'm growing old, so. On 19th, that is Thursday, God willing, we're going to have Dr. Peter Eshen. Dr. Peter Eshen is a senior lecturer in assessment, educational administration. No, he's very renowned in his area. He's very grounded, and he has wide range of experiences. He has taught in the basic school, and he has had, 30 years of teaching experiences, including his experiences in GES. And he's going to share with us assessment techniques. And interestingly, this webinar is free. So just share the link, the same link that you used today. It's the same link. Anytime before you get on, just register. By registering, you are not paying money to anybody. Fill in your details, and that's all. You join for free. And they have made themselves available to contribute in that regard. Because remember, iron sharpens iron. I have learned so much from even interacting with you. So much. Yes. And so thank you so much for coming. As I did indicate, we have some trial questions that we will make available to you through the WhatsApp link. And then we'll give you the link so you can go there to download this trial question and try them. Try your hands on them and see. And the document itself, the National Teacher Education Curriculum Framework, we are going to send it. It's part of it. So you download it and look at it and read it at your own pace and time. Acquaint yourself with these pillars and what is expected so that it will help your teaching and your long life learning as a teacher. Yes. Besides, on the 26th of November, we're also going to get a director of education. A director of education is coming on board and is going to give us attending interview. In fact, all interviews, any interview that you are attending, there are things that is expected from you. Sometimes whatever you say or you do not say affects your choice. So it will, that person with a huge experience will come and share his knowledge about attending interviews with us. And he has sat on the panel, is part of it, and he has gone through the mail and is now retired. And it's very good, he's very excited to share his knowledge with us. So kindly share the link, invite your friends who are not here. We are on the way of helping you to prepare for promotion. And one thing, as I keep on repeating, is that we are not taking any money from you. As a teacher, at Teacher Subject-Based Association, that is our contribution to the betterment of the teachers. It is not enough for us just complaining, teachers are not doing that, whatever. What are we also doing? So that is our contribution. So let's invite others to join. At the end of this webinar, those who have registered with us will be given certificates. And then we look at the number of times you have come, not you coming once and that's it, no. The number of times you partook in this webinar. In fact, it's starting from this, today, and we're going to take it Tuesday, Thursday. We're going to continue that till February, when you actually go and do your examination, for your promotion. So thank you so much for your participation. And may God bless you all for coming. But if you have any general comments, if you have anything that we can do to improve this, please share with us. You can tell me. We are here to make things better. So if you have anything to share with us in terms of improving this, feel free to share with us, please. Honorable, do you have anything to share with us?
No, please.
Oh, okay. Okay. But, you can go to our page, our WhatsApp page. If you have anything that you may not like to say here, but you want to share with us to make the thing better, why not share with us? Until we meet again. Yes.
Yeah, I have something to. I'm so happy with what you are doing so far. Yeah, this is innocent. Doc, the questions and the document. I'll be glad if you can put it on our website. You know what? Some people might be cheating. Those who have registered, whose money is being used for some of these things. So I'll be glad if you can put it on our website, so that when you go there, when you are registered, you go there, you get it. But if you're not registered, you shouldn't have access to it. I just want to suggest.
Thank you for sharing. But we have tried to open up. Even this video, we'll put it on YouTube, so that teachers will register. But like you have said, it is their resources that we are using to organize this webinar. It's right, but we need to open our doors. Let us open our doors, right? So that we invite them. They know what we do, what we stand for, right? So, like you have suggested, Honorable Innocent, we'll make it available on our website so that people will get access to it. Thank you so much for your contribution. Okay, so in the absence of further questions, interrogations, comments, opinions, thank you so much for your participation. May God bless you all.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much.
Clapping for you.
Bye-bye, Doc.
Bye.